really rich.
Hey, this is Tommy McClellan, and you're listening to Talking with Tommy on WICR.
I live in a van down by the river.
Ever wonder what type of shampoo Donald Trump uses? I'm talking about that and more, including topics like what your grandmother had for lunch and why God has a freaky sense of fashion. So stay tuned, because it's all happening live.
I'm gonna do it.
My mama said that. My mama said that. My mama said that.
What is up, Westchester? Welcome to the 5th episode of Talking with Tommy. I'm your host, Tommy McClellan. Today we've got a very exciting episode for you, all of you listeners. We have very special guest star, Nikki Paris, on today, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later when he calls in, but he's a very big deal. Trust me, I know. He's a cool dude. So, while we wait for him to call in and give the best interview of all time, the topic for today, by myself, is music. So what I'm talking about is music. Music is just so influential in everybody's life. Obviously, there's artists that make music, but then people have it for spiritual and mental health as well. It's used all the time in clinics to help people feel better about themselves. It's used, I know, for Alzheimer's. It helps a lot. And it helps Miley Cyrus become famous, and she's kind of crazy, so that's good. I don't know how crazy she actually is, though, to be honest. I think that she's sort of crazy like Donald Trump crazy, to be honest. It's like, it's not all it's not really how they are, but they're still gonna act like it because it makes them money and it gets them attention. And that's what everybody likes, attention. That's why I'm doing this. I like attention. That's why I do stand-up. I like attention. But I don't make music because I can't. I suck at that. On top of that, we are sitting here live in a radio booth where lots of music is played. Today I've played on my segment, I've played the Bees Gees. I have played... what else have I played? I've played a song I learned yesterday. I learned of yesterday called, I think it's called "We Built Our Own House" by Mr. Wives. It is so good, so catchy. I recommend it if you care to give it a listen because it's very, very good. So, besides that, I am sitting here chilling, and that's a song I just wrote. Music, am I right, people? All right, so now it's hard. It's hard to determine what music is the best because there's so many different forms of music, whether it's orchestral or indie or rock and roll or death metal, oddly enough, or even disco. Disco's people say disco's dead. I don't actually know if it is dead because I love listening to disco. If they had a disco club, I would go to it, and that's probably why I'm forever alone. But still, disco is so catchy and so much fun. I hope that it makes a comeback, and I really think it will. Rock and roll, however, is on the verge of extinction, and I truly believe that, because what rock bands are out there these days besides the Foo Fighters are amazing, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have that same crisp synergy it had in the 70s and the 80s. I think it's definitely been replaced by more electronic type pop music, and I know that's sad to say, but it's the truth. It is, and that's the route of music, because in the 50s, all the older people were like, to Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis, they were like, this isn't music. Back in my day, we listened to classical music like Beethoven. And then the 60s came and people started listening to Beatles, and they were like, yeah, but parents were like, this isn't music. My day, we listened to Buddy Holly. And then AC/DC and Guns N' Roses started coming in the 70s and the 80s, and everyone was like, this isn't music. Back in my day, we listened to the Beatles, and what is this garbage? And then it just, so on and so forth. It kept developing like that. And now we're in an age where it's, pop music is definitely the most popular, I'd say, between Miley Cyrus, like I said, Demi Lovato's popular right now. Nicki Minaj, and that's very, very mainstream now, and some people are like, well, that's not real music. Guns N' Roses is real music, but that's the route that this music generation is taking, and I'm sure in 20, 30 years, some new form of music that I can't even imagine right now will come out, and it'll be playing, and my kids, or more realistically, my friends' kids will be playing that, and I'll be like, that isn't music. In my day, we had the classical Justin Bieber. Put on some J Biebs. I've still got the Bieber fever, and I'm a 40-year-old man. That's not creepy at all. But I digress. I music, and then I think it's sad too because I don't know if it's how the budget is for high schools now because I'm not in high school anymore, and I know that's a terrible thing. But when I was in high school, the budget was very, very bad for schools, and music was one of the first things to get cut. And it affected me directly because my school at the time had a wonderful musical program with a great teacher, and we had so many classes, so many different things I got to learn, and it was great. But then the end of my sophomore year, it all got cut, and I think maybe choir was left, but that was it. There was no more musical technology. There was no more musical theater. It just all just straight cut, one and done. It was done, gone, done, and that really affected me. And I felt like there was something missing, and I've sort of grown and adapted to that now. Now I'm fine without it, but at the time that was terrible. So I do, and I was really into it, but for people, even just people who aren't into it but just haven't even listened to it, music is such an important thing, and I think that it's unfortunate because there are only so many things the school can do to save money, and it's like, well, sports are just equally as important as music. I should speak English. Equally as important as music or art or I don't know, baking. I don't know what is that? Home economics. We never had that when I was in school, so I don't really know the name of it. But it's just as important. It's just different, and it does different things for the brain, obviously. Sports is some people like to make the argument like, well, we don't need sports. That's just extracurricular. Music is for the mind, but it's like, sure, but sports provide such an outlet for students. It keeps them focused. It keeps them going, and it gives them drive and want to do better in school. I know if it wasn't for sports when I was in high school, I would have been lost. Music played a big role, but overall, the sports is what kept me focused and kept me going. And I think that says a lot in itself right there. It's a tough call, and I'm not mad at any teacher whoever made the call to get rid of music, and I never am. It's a very tough thing. It's just it's too bad there isn't some sort of other solution to be made to make it work. But that's just how it goes, I guess. But like I said, that's life, and music is still a very present thing in our lives. Music certainly hasn't gone away, and to be honest, I don't think it ever will, because music has been around forever, literally forever, so long. So, like I said, we have a great episode today. A little later, around 3:45, Nicky Paris. He's been on lots of things. He's a regular comedian at some of the highest clubs in New York City. He's been on MTV multiple times, and he has some new projects he's working on, which he will tell us about. He's a very, very funny dude. Very nice dude. Can't wait to just interview him and hopefully share it with you guys, and hopefully it'll help spread him around because he's so talented and so gifted, and it's going to be great for everyone to hopefully learn who he is. But anyways, I'm Tommy McClellan. This is Talking with Tommy. We'll be back in a little bit, so stay tuned, stay happening, and stay popping. One love.